25.5% for 4 months. Valuable FD.
What's happening around the world and what's happening here at home? A very good evening to and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Social media activist Dilan Senanayake stabbed in his own office. No arrests yet. TID questions a Mainagogama activist as to whether Vasantha Mudalige led the unrest that captured temple trees. Sri Lanka's recession is likely to deepen amid high inflation rates, Bloomberg reports. Government aiming to raise up $3 billion via restructuring of state assets, says Minister Ali Sabri. President's advice to state sector employees. Police investigate drug abuse at schools. Survey into drug abuse carried out by a university.
Starting off with news here at home, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandalal Weerasinghe, says that reforms are necessary for the country while maintaining the independence of the central bank. The central bank governor also set the record straight on bilateral creditor discussions, citing that it had been miscommunicated.
We are in the process of negotiating to obtain financing assurance from other bilateral creditors, mainly from Paris Club, including Japan, India and China. They also report in the media today. I saw at the cabinet briefing, they also mentioned that we have concluded that negotiation. I think it's probably a miscommunication. We have not concluded that step yet. We have made a lot of progress. We are in the process of completing that. But we said basically our intention is to complete the negotiation somewhere in January. Because if you miss this month, probably next month you would be able to complete that on the basis of progress you have made. That's the comment I want to make. We probably would be able to stabilize the economy in the short term, but obviously without having long-term structural reforms as well as other the proper policy framework, then those are things we need to ensure we move in the same direction. Even with the IMF, without IMF, we need to do these things even going forward to correct the imbalances, make the country ability to recover on a much more sustainable basis.
The governor, speaking at the CA Sri Lanka's annual research symposium, also said there should be a productivity commission to monitor government decisions on investments.
How do you make sure government decisions on investments are properly scrutinized, look at the feasibility, and then make a recommendation? That is where the Productivity Commission is again another independent institution, which should not be politically influenced. That's why you need an institutional framework to ensure that will happen. I don't blame politicians for not doing that because it's based on their knowledge. No one can expect the representatives that we elected to the parliament are experts in all the areas. That's why you need to have proper institutional structure that will advise them, that will recommend them these are the right things. Then obviously they are responsibilities to implement those based on public interest. Then other part is the public should also demanding from their representatives that these are the right policies. Otherwise, if the Productivity Commission says one thing, there is no public support. They can't support because they are supposed to represent public.
The governor also spoke on the independence of the central bank.
Make the central bank independent and strong institution and should not permit central bank to finance the whatever the budget deficit. That's if there's going to be a budget deficit more than expected. And Central Bank should not be able to finance that deficit. So there has to be another institutional framework which ensures that this bad practice, although we all know that is bad practice, but if there is no law or no framework, obviously that will happen again. So that's the next important reform, is to make central bank independent, and there are a lot of other provisions coming in. This one important one is to prevent or prohibit central bank to finance directly the budget deficit, bringing in proper frameworks irrespective of any change in government, any new administration. Once we have framework, everyone will have to follow that, unless there's a new theory comes in and Parliament itself decides that, this is not the right one, we revise it. I think for that, people will have to support it. Otherwise, Parliament can't do whatever they think without people's support. That is people's public education.
Bloomberg reported that Sri Lanka's economy likely fell deeper into recession as tight monetary policy and Asia's fastest inflation further dampened the nation's economic health. According to a Bloomberg survey of economists, the country's gross domestic product probably contracted about 10% between July and September compared to the same period last year. That is the slowest reading in 2 years and compares with an 8.4% contraction in the April to June period. Ankur Shukla of Bloomberg Economics said demand remained sluggish as high inflation and weak confidence kept consumption under pressure.
Foreign Minister Ali Sabri told Reuters that the Sri Lankan government is aiming to raise up to $3 billion via restructuring of state assets. He also said that Sri Lanka expects up to $8 billion more in loans.
Sri Lankan Foreign Minister told Reuters that the government is aiming to raise up to $3 billion via restructuring of state assets. He said that the president is interested in restructuring some of the state institutions, and through that, if Sri Lanka can raise $2 to $3 billion, the treasury and reserves become strengthened. He said that Sri Lanka made it very clear to the IMF, multilateral partners and to bilateral partners that patience is running out and it is urgent for the sake of Sri Lankans and the good health of the world economy. Trade unions and civil organizations have strongly opposed the attempt to raise up to $3 billion via restructuring of state assets.
A majority of the debt that needs to be settled date back to the government of good governance. Ranil Wickremesinghe was in government back then, and Ranil Wickremesinghe is the cause for this. An attempt is being made to sell assets under the guise of restructuring those assets. In 2003, Sri Lanka Insurance was sold for 6 billion rupees, but the true value was far beyond that. Lanka Marine Services was given away along with a 9-acre property located down Blue-Mantle in Colombo. The land was given away free. They are trying to do the same again today. Restructuring does not mean selling off the assets. The government has no right to do that. Investors do not want to come here, citing strict labour laws. Have a look at the Katunayaka airport construction. It has been suspended not because of the labour laws, but because of the government's 20% commission that are being sought. For 6 years, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation was making profits, and the forex exchange rate was the source for it to make losses. They say the Ceylon Electricity Board is also making losses. They are making losses because they purchase electricity for higher rates from the private suppliers. Their solution is privatization of the remaining assets. 3 of the 5 terminals at the port have been privatized. The revenue at the port was $227 billion, but the privatization of the 2 terminals only gave us $40 billion. 2 weak terminals are operating at the port to generate $187 billion. The government says that this is impossible because they want to sell the terminals. They want to bridge the deficit by selling off the profit-making ventures. This is a tactic by the government and not a policy that will benefit the country.
No arrests have been made thus far in connection to an assault on social media activist Dilan Senanayake, who was stabbed with a sharp weapon. Dilan Senanayake, who sustained serious injuries, is currently receiving treatment at the Colombo Villa Teaching Hospital.
Dilan Senanayake, who is an actor, dubbing artist and social media activist, was at the forefront of the Aragalaya. During the Aragalaya, he was hospitalized twice due to tear gas attacks.
Me, Retta Saha Dilan! Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Two masked men had entered Dilan Senanayake's personal studio last night, located in Pagoda Nugegoda, and attacked him with a sharp object. According to information revealed, the two masked men had arrived at the location in a three-wheeler. Dilan Senanayake, who sustained lacerations on his left hand and right leg, was admitted to the Kalubovila Teaching Hospital and underwent a surgery.
කකුලට එන්නේ ඊට පස්සේ මෙහෙට අනින්න හැදුවා මම අති ඩිෆෙන්ඩ් කරා හිටියේ කුස්සියේ පිටපස්සේ හිටියේ ස්ටුඩියෝ මැනේජර් එයාට වැඩි ඇහුන්නේ නැහැ වැඩි මම හයියෙන් කෑ ගහගෙන දිව්වා එයාට හිතාගන්න බැරුණා මොකටද මම කෑ ගහන්නේ කියලා ඒක තමයි.
Despite an ongoing investigation regarding the incident, no arrests have been made as yet. According to our correspondent, investigation officers have inspected the CCTV footage.
These injuries are not life-threatening, but the wounds are serious. It's too soon to comment on this. We still don't know who is behind this. We will see who is behind it in the future. We expect a fair investigation into this from the police and the courts. We know that this government was in a hurry to arrest the Aragalaya activists. Who was behind this attack? Were they thugs of the government or was it another group? We urge this government to carry out an investigation quickly as possible. The lives of Aragalaya activists cannot be risked like this.
We credibly learned that Vasantha Muthalige is going to be sent to Boozer Detention Center. It's very interesting why the state has decided to send a young boy who was responsible for bringing life to the Aragalaya, who was a leader in the Aragalaya, to this notorious high security prison. Particularly after December 12th, when his case was called to the Magistrates Court of Colombo, and it transpired that the state did not have an iota of evidence to hold Vasantha Muthalige accountable for any offence, let alone offences under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. The first 3 days of him being arrested, from the police station which was supposed to keep him, he was taken to 7 other places, one place to the other place to the other. The officers who took him there has also threatened him. Ranil Wickremesinghe issuing a DO on Vasantha Muthalige, what he has effectively done is to make all of us who are in the Aragalaya also terrorists.
Civil activist Manoj Muthalige, who actively participated in the Aragalaya, appeared at the Police Terrorist Investigation Division on Thursday. Our correspondent reported that he arrived at the TID around 12:30 in the afternoon to provide a statement.
I was interrogated for around 5 hours today. They questioned me on the incidents that took place at the temple trees and as to whether there was any direct influence from Vasantha Muthalige and Siridambathero for us to take part in the Aragalaya. This Aragalaya belongs to the people. They are the ones who started this. This didn't happen because of just one group. And if you don't provide solutions to these economic woes faced by the people will once again take to the streets. We urge the people to come forward and explain to them the reason why the people took to the streets.
The National Council Subcommittee on Identifying Programs related to Economic Stabilization revealed that they have proposed to shut down 17 state-owned enterprises as they are non-efficient and are only limited to their names. There are 2,200 state-owned enterprises in Sri Lanka. The chairman of the subcommittee, Patali Champika Ranawaka, also noted the need to strategically strengthen 52 other state-owned enterprises.
කවුරුත් දන්නා සල්ලියක් කියලා උදම්නේ වැඩි වුණා. ඊළඟ පොලිය අනුපාත වැඩි වුණා. ඊළඟ මාණ්ඩාගාර විකල්ප වල 34 වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ව්‍යාපාර කරගෙන බෙදගත්තට පත් වෙලා තියෙන ව්‍යාපාරික උද්‍යම දැනට ශේෂ්ඨ 3ක පමණ සංචාරක ව්‍යාපාරය ඉදිකිරීම කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ෂන් සෙක්ටර් ඊළඟට අපි ගත්තොත් පවර් ඇන්ඩ් සෙක්ටර් මේ සෙක්ටර්ස් තුනේ නොගෙවෙන ලද ඉල්පත් හා පොළු දමන ලද ප්‍රමාණය ආසන්නයෙන් ට්‍රිලියන් එකක්.
Speaking at a meeting in Bulletin today, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said state sector employees must not provide excuses for failing to exercise their duties to the public. He expressed these views at the Bulletin District Development Committee meeting. The President emphasized that it is the responsibility of state sector officials to provide an effective public service without creating disputes between government institutions. He also said that officials should use laws and ordinances as a shield to serve the people and not to serve companies. The President further stated that government officials should work efficiently and there should be no conflicts between departments and everyone should work together as a part of the government to serve the people.
ජල පෝෂක ප්‍රදේශ වන් ශක්ති ගැසට් කිරීමේ ක්‍රමවේදයේ පවතින ප්‍රමාදය.
ගැස කන්න තියෙනවා 383ක් ලොට් එකකින් කීපයක් 15ක් වගේ තියෙනවා ඉෂුස් තියෙනවා. අපි නීතිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට අපි
කියන්නේ කොටස් 15යි.
කොටස් 15කට.
අනික් වා ප්‍රශ්න නැහැ.
අනිත් ඒවා ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ.
ඒ ඔක්කොම ගැසට් කරන්න. ඒ 15 නිසා අනික් අය ගැසට් නොකර ඉන්න එපා. මේ දිතුරේට ලොට් කීයක් තියෙනවද?
383ක් තියෙනවා මේ ෆස්ට් ෆේස් එකේ කරන්නේ.
15ක් අඩු කරලා ඉතුරු ටික ගැසට් කරන්න.
මේ
කරන්නේ නැත්තේ.
නේ ඔක්කොම ටික එකට කරන්න කියලා තමයි අපි තියන්නේ.
හරි ඔක්කොම එකට කරන්න බැයි නම් විගහට කරන්න. ආණ්ඩුව මෙහෙම වැඩ කරන්න එපා.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා කියන එක තේරුම් ගන්න. 15 අතරලා අනිත් කට්ටිය ගැසට් කරන්න. මේක බිල්ලට තියාගෙන ඉන්න එපා.
ඔව්. ආණ්ඩුවේ නිලධාරීන් විගහට වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ. මට හේතු දෙන්න එපා. දැන් 383න් 15ක නම් තියෙන්නේ. අනික් වගේ ගැසට් කරන්න ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ.
කරමු සර්.
The Federation of National Organizations convened a media briefing in Colombo today.
Ranil Wickremesinghe is carrying out his game plan very well today. Throughout our country's history, we have never identified him as a leader who steered our nation successfully through a crisis. And today, Gotabaya Rajapaksa has given the helm of this nation to a person who doesn't have a good track record or a mandate of the people. As the first phase of his game plan, his idea is to call the local government elections and to bring forward the Port Tour, which he is leading right now, and to win these elections using the state power. He is also planning to use Basil Rajapaksa to pump the funds he looted when he was in office for this election campaign. During this election campaign, they will put the prevailing economic crisis and their failure to provide a solution to it under the rug. This will benefit the government. In addition to this, as a part of their second phase, they are planning to continue the suppression with some political parties and university students who are supporting their cause. The third phase of this game plan is to hijack the Aragalaya. Today, they are even considering selling off the water used by the farmers. They are allowing the crisis to go from bad to worst so they can carry out this cruel game plan to obtain funds by making this country another state of India. As the fifth phase of this game plan, he is planning to win the next presidential election with India's support. His role here is being the security guard until they finish selling off everything.
පටන්ගත්ත විකිනීමේ න්‍යාය පත්‍රය අවසන් වෙනකම් මුරකාරයාගේ භූමිකාව ඒක තමයි රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාගේ මේ ගේම් ප්ලෑන් එකේ පස්වෙනි අදියර.
The Tamil National Alliance convened a media briefing in Jaffna.
He is working on restructuring loss-making institutions. These institutions are public property. Does Ranil Wickremesinghe have the right to privatize? He was completely rejected by the people. The Gotabaya Mahinda government, which was elected by the Sinhalese people, was rejected by the Sinhalese people themselves. What kind of authority does a person who got into the position of presidency from the back door have over these institutions? He does not have that authority. It's illegal. Before restructuring institutions, allow the people to exercise their mandate.
இவ்வாறான காரியங்களை தான் செய்ய போவதாக மக்களுக்கு சொல்லி ஆணையை பெற்ற பிற்பாடு அவர் அந்த காரியங்களை செய்வதுதான் பொருத்தமானதாக இருக்கும்.
Inspections at schools to crack down on drugs. More on this story right after this commercial break. Stay tuned.
News First, main sponsor.
25% for 2 months, 25.5% for 4 months. Valuable FD.
අයිවන් සතුටින් ඉන්නේ වයරින් කරලා වයරින් කිරුවේ එස්ලොන් පොලිකොන් යොදලා.
For your safety and the protection of the wires used in networking and AC wiring, Eslon Polycon cable trunking.
Welcome back. Let's continue with more local news. Sri Lanka police launched inspections at schools in a bid to crack down on drugs. Education Minister Susil Premachanda told Newsfirst that authorities are working closely with the police to prevent children from falling victim to drugs.
Sri Lanka police conducted a search operation at schools in the Batiklu town on Thursday morning. The school bags of the students were searched at the entrance of each school by police officers. Sri Lanka police conducted spot checks at 3 schools in the Polghavila town. We cannot tell it exactly, but however, we responded to this in Parliament recently. A month ago, around 81 school children have been directed for rehabilitation. We are working closely with the police now. They have identified some isolated places. With this list, we have arranged a training program to our teachers to identify users in school. Even I was in court today, but it is very hard to identify a person who is addicted to ice. By the time they identify him, it will be too late. We have assigned a university to carry out a survey on this. Currently, they are carrying out this survey targeting areas like Angulana, Morotua and Dehivala. Counselling is also important. We are training our teachers for that as well. We have been given an additional responsibility apart from developing the educational sector in the country.
The Negombo Additional District Judge Nuwan Tharaka Heenattilagala today ordered for the cases filed against President Ranil Wickremesinghe demanding compensation for the 2019 Easter Sunday terror attacks be set aside only for the period of Wickremesinghe's presidency. This is due to Ranil Wickremesinghe being entitled to presidential immunity according to the provisions of Article 35(1) of the Constitution.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe has been named as the second defendant in the compensation cases filed by the victims of the 2019 Easter Sunday terror attacks at the Negombo District Court. However, the Negombo Additional District Judge rejected the request of former President Maithripala Sirisena, former Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando and former Inspector General of Police Pujit Jayasundara to drop the cases against all the defendants named. Accordingly, the district judge ordered that the cases be maintained against all the defendants except Ranil Wickremesinghe. The Colombo Chief Magistrates Court today ordered to relax the overseas travel ban imposed on State Minister Diana Gamage for a period of 5 days. The State Minister is mentioned in a case filed for allegedly providing false information to the Controller General of Immigration and Emigration to obtain a passport. Colombo Chief Magistrate Nandana Amarasinghe ordered the Criminal Investigations Department's OIC to produce a comprehensive investigation report to the court on the 5th of January 2023 with regard to the investigations on the State Minister.
Election Commission Director General Saman Sri Ratnayaka said that Provincial Council elections will be held on time. He was speaking at a program organized by the People's Action of Free and Fair Elections, or PAFREL.
A website to measure the progress of election reforms and a field research report on elections was published on Thursday.
We believe the Elections Commission will hold the elections on time. They have time until the beginning of January. We believe they will hold the elections during that period. If they don't, we will take matters to court. There are laws and acts to carry out any election. We function according to that act. Our job is to appoint all the members before the 19th of March and issue the relevant gazette. We have sufficient time. As the Commission mentioned, the relevant work will be done at the last week of December.
අවසාන සතියේදී එයා දාලා කටයුතු කරාම මාර්තුවේදී ඡන්දය තියලා අවසන් කියන එකද ඔබතුමාගේ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම අවුරුදු 19කට කලින් ඡන්දය තියලා අවසන් කිරීමට තමයි අපිට නීතියෙන් තියෙන නියමය.
The Election Commission has said the elections will be held. After that notice is issued, we can slowly start our process as they have to do it according to the current status. If it is done according to our scale, the election will have to be delayed by 6 months or more. Yes, elections must be held. No one can take away the authority of the Elections Commission, and they cannot evade it as well. The only institute above it is the Parliament and the High Court. The National Delimitation Committee is a small authority.
News First with the people.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD. 25% for 2 months. 25.5% for 4 months. Valuable FD. The symbol of stability.
Rotary International's president Jennifer Jones visited the head office of Capital Maharaja Group, the parent company of Newsfirst, earlier today during a 4-day visit to Sri Lanka.
Rotary International's president Jennifer Jones met with Mr. Sashi Rajamahendran, chairman of Capital Maharaja Group, and Mr. Shevan Daniel, group director. Ms. Jones was a guest in a special edition of Newsline, the premier daily English talk show of News First, and was interviewed by host Faraz Shaukat Ali. Ms. Jones is the first woman president in the 115-year history of Rotary. She is a member of the Rotary Club of Windsor-Roseland, Ontario, Canada, and is the founder and president of Media Street Productions Incorporated, an award-winning media company in Windsor. She was chair of the Board of Governors of the University of Windsor and chair of the Windsor-Essex Regional Chamber of Commerce. She has been recognized for her service with the YMCA Peace Medallion, the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal, and Wayne State University's Peacemaker of the Year Award, a first for a Canadian. Earlier in the day, Rotary International's president Jennifer Jones and others, including acting Canadian High Commissioner Daniel Bood, visited the Colombo Stock Exchange at the World Trade Center in Colombo on Thursday morning. The group planted a tree at the World Trade Center premises. Jennifer Jones delivered the keynote speech at the Ring the Bell for Sustainability event. Exactly. Donations were also made for the 1 million trees tree planting project. Later on, Rotary International together with UNICEF donated medicines worth around 6 million rupees to Sri Lanka on Thursday. Medicines worth 3.5 billion rupees will be donated to Sri Lanka in a step-by-step process.
So one of the areas where we were not willing to compromise, or we were unable to, or we should not compromise, was the health sector. So if it's a highways, we could put them off for another year, something else we can put it off. But when it came to food and health, we were not in a position to sort of put them off or to have any compromises. We thought that we will stretch out to all our friends around the world. Health Ministry itself is very grateful and thankful to all of you all, where you started bridging this gap between the organizations and the organizations that are set out to be to assist things like this in the health sector, UNICEF, WHO areas.
The donation was made during an event attended by Rotary International President Jennifer Jones and UNICEF representative for Sri Lanka, Christian Skoog.
Anger continues to simmer among people in Iran after a 23-year-old man was publicly hanged on Monday in the city of Mashhad, less than a month after he was arrested.
Amid this, a video of an unveiled Iranian woman standing in middle of traffic and pretending to being hanged is going viral on social media. The viral clip, shot in the holy city of Mashhad, shows a woman standing in the middle of a busy road with cars passing by and pretending being hanged. Majid Reza Ranawat was the second prisoner to be detained and executed amid nationwide protests challenging Iran's theocracy. The recent public hangings are not new. Iran has carried similar fashioned execution in the past, most infamously in the 1980s during a mass purge of dissidents and after the disputed 2009 presidential election. Protests erupted following the death in custody of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who was detained by morality police for wearing her hijab or headscarf improperly. At least 490 protesters, including 68 children and 62 security personnel, have been killed in the months of unrest that have followed. Another 18,200 people have been detained by authorities. On Wednesday, the UN Economic and Social Council voted to immediately oust Iran from the UN's leading global body fighting for gender equality because of its systematic violation of women's rights.
Reigning world champions France sealed a spot in the final of this year's FIFA World Cup in Qatar with a 2-0 win over valiant Morocco's side early this morning, setting up a mouth-watering summit clash with Lionel Messi's Argentina on Sunday. Interestingly, Morocco were the first African nation in World Cup history to enter a semi-final of a FIFA World Cup. The annual Sri Lanka Schools Rowing Championship, organised by the Sri Lanka Schools Rowing Association, took place at the Diyavanna Rowing Centre. The Boys Championship was won by Ananda College, while Bishop's College and Asian International School were joint champions in the girls category.
The Rowing Championship was organised by the Sri Lanka Schools Rowing Association and took place under 4 separate categories, each for boys and girls, across 3 days. The under-20 boys Coxed Fours was won by Ananda College and they defeated St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia as well as Asian International School. Ananda College Colombo won the overall championship in the boys category. 9 schools including Royal College, St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia, St. Peter's College, Asian International School and the British School in Colombo competed in the boys category. Bishop's College Colombo and Asian International School were adjudged as joint champions in the girls category. They beat Museus College, Ladies College and Visakha Vidyalaya to become joint champions.
And with that, wrap up news for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Do take care and good night.